Hey everybody, this is me, Roger Aladdin Daltrey, and welcome to my latest unboxing video. And this is the first unboxing video that I've done now since July last year. So now I'm back with the first box set in a long time. I told you I'd be back doing them. And today we're going to be doing an unboxing video for one of the most underrated rock bands of all time, in my opinion, and one of the greatest bands ever, with three talented musicians. And even though they did have a fourth member later on, but for now we're going to talk about them as a trio. The artist I am talking about today is Grand Funk Railroad. Now this is a box set that came out in 2017 or 2016, and this includes all of their, the first half of their Capitol record albums. So basically this box set contains their first 5 studio albums and their live album. Then on the back cover here we have all of the albums mentioned with the actual track listing and then pictures of the albums there at the top. And this is the box set from 1969 to 1971, so 2 albums from every year. And I got this box set for Christmas, so this was 6 albums for €40. That is an amazing bargain. Right, so without further ado, let's get started. So Grand Funk Railroad to me are definitely one of the most greatest and underrated rock bands of all time. And I think Mark Farner, the lead singer and guitar player, is a genius. And a lot of people, in my opinion, are way too harsh on his guitar playing, because I think many people are trying to think that he's trying to rip off Eric Clapton, because Grand Funk Railroad to me are the 70s version of Cream. And I think Mel Shocker is an amazing bass player, and if you isolate the bass on any song that he plays on from Grand Funk Railroad, it just sounds so unique. I think of the other bass players like Paul McCartney, Chris Squire, Gene Simmons, Cliff Burton, and Shrek, of course, and then of course Leanne Pinnock. They just sound so unique on their bass guitars as well. And I think Don Brewer is an amazing drummer, and he's also a good singer as well. And he's probably my second favourite singing drummer after Phil Collins, which is pretty cool. Right, so let's get started on the video. So I'm in this box set, so when we open it up here, there is the replicas of the albums here. So I'll just put the box over here to the side. Or what I might do is maybe put the box over here and then put all the CDs over here to one side. Right. So first thing we get is the booklet. And when we open it up here, there's a bit of a write-up, and that's the Survival album front cover, the front cover of Survival. And then there's pictures of some singles. This is what the Gatefold looks like for their second studio album, is the picture of the 3 classic people looking particularly astute. And then here are the albums with the track listing. A really good booklet. Now for the albums. In general, the very first Grand Funk Railroad album I ever heard was their 7th studio album, but that's going to be saved for the Volume 2 video, so I'll talk about that one when we do that video. But for now, we're going to focus on this lot. So here's Grand Funk Railroad's first album, On Time, from 1969. And there's the back cover. And this album is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And that's probably the biggest reason why I decided to do an unboxing video for this talented band. Okay. So what we got in here? So this of course features a hit single on here called Time Machine, and it's a very bluesy based riff. And Time Machine could be like saying Tin Machine, which is the name of a band featuring David Bowie as the lead singer. And that first album from them is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And other ones with Machine in it, we could have Sex Machine, which is a song titled by James Brown and covered by Sly and the Family Stone on 1969's Stand, which is also 50 this year, as well as this album. And we could also have War Machine, which is a song titled by Kiss, coming off 1982 record Creatures of the Night. And we could also have Rhythm Machine by Bad Company on 1979's Desolation Angels, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Wow, and this album is 69, so 10 years later we get another one with Machine in the title. Anyways, that's that one. Then the B-side to Time Machine is called High on a Horse, and it's a bit like saying Ride a Rock Horse, which is an album titled by Aladdin from 1975, and it's basically him as the horse's head. And then hopefully in 2022, Perry Edwards from the classic Little Mix will release her second solo album, as well as the possible 7th Little Mix album. Then hopefully Leanne Pinnock will release her 4th solo album, and Jessie Nelson will release her first solo album that year, which is cool. That's for High on a Horse. Then we've another song on here called Are You Ready? And they are song titles by the following. By Bob Dylan on 1980's Saved, Sly and the Family Stone on 1968's Dance to the Music, and by Tin Lizzy on 1978's Live and Dangerous. And as you guys already know now, I've gone back to liking Tin Lizzy, so now you get to see the fill-in poster behind me. I'll just show it for you here. Very cool picture. This was taking place during the tour for the 11th Tin Lizzy album, A Renegade, which is also a song titled by Styx as well. Anyway, so that's what Are You Ready? And it could be like saying, Are You Ready for the Country? And Ready for the Country is a song titled by Neil Young from 1972's Harvest. And I also say for Get Back to the Country on Always by Neil Young. And of course, R.I.P. Peggy Young, Neil Young's former wife. And then with Are You Ready, we have something like Are You Ready for Love? And Ready for Love are song titles by both Aladdin on 1987's Can't Wait to See the Movie, which at the time was going to be his final solo album because of the Disney Renaissance with Little Mermaid beginning. And then hopefully in 2034, Perry Edwards of Little Mix will release her 7th solo LP. And then Are You Ready? And then Ready for Love is also a song titled by Bad Company on 1974's self-titled debut, celebrating 45 years this year, and one of my favourite 70s debut albums, along with the following: The Faces' First Step, John Lennon Plastic Ono Band, Paul McCartney, ZZ Top's first album, the debut albums of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Blue Oyster Cult, Roxy Music, Aerosmith, Queen, Kiss, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, The Ramones, The Clash, Foreigner, The Cars, Van Halen, The Police Outlandish More, The Eagles' debut album, J.J. Cale Naturally, Tin Lizzy's debut album, Brian Ferry, These Foolish Things, Aladdin's 1973 self-titled album, credits Perry Edwards, Homer Simpson, Who Came First, credited to Jade Furwell of Little Mix, Shrek, Smash Your Head Against the Wall, credited to Leanne Pinnock from Little Mix, Wallace, Two Sides of the Moon, credited to Jessie Nelson of Little Mix, 1978 solo Kiss albums of Paul Stanley and Ace Frehley, Peter Gabriel's debut album, did I say J.J. Cale Naturally? I think you did, and then Electric Light Orchestra's No Answer. So they're all my favourite 70s debut albums, and quite possibly the debut album of Eric Clapton, his solo career. Alright, so that's for Are You Ready? Then to reference No Answer from Electric Light Orchestra, there's a song in here called Anybody's Answer. So yeah, just thought I'd give you that one. And then we have another song on here called TNUC, which is the longest track on this album at 8 minutes and 40 seconds. And it could be like saying TNT, which is a song titled by AC/DC from a 1975 record of the same name. Because once again, AC/DC are in the top 5 most satanic artists of all time. And even though it means alternating current, direct current, AC/DC stands for Antichrist Devil's Children. And that is the true definition of it. So that's all the side one. Now for the B-side. Another song on here. The other single from this album was called Heartbreaker. And Heartbreaker are song titles by both Led Zeppelin on 1969's Zeppelin 2, celebrating 50 years also, and by Free on the 1973 record of the same name. So that's for that one. Then we have a song on here called Into the Sun, and it could be like saying Into the Void, which are song titles by both Black Sabbath on 1970's Paranoid, and by Kiss on 1998's Psycho Circus. And then with the Sun, and with Sun in the title, with this song, we could have Waiting for the Sun, which is a song title by The Doors on 1970's Morrison Hotel, even though the title track is on Morrison Hotel, and it's an album title as well from 1968. And it's also happened for a couple of other artists as well, like Led Zeppelin's House of the Holy's title track is on Physical Graffiti. Marvin Gaye's That's the Way Love Is on MPG, celebrating 50 this year. And Leo Sayer, Have You Ever Been in Love is on World Radio, which is a bit strange in my mind. And then if we want to have the sun in the title, we could have, as the start word, we could have The Sun Goes Down, which is a song titled by Tin Lizzy on the 1983 record Thunder and Lightning. And it's also mentioned in the Paul Simon song All Around the World on 1986's classic album Graceland. So that's for the sun there. And that's what we have for Into. That's the main ones I have for that one. And then we have another song on here called Ups and Downs. And it's basically the same as saying Up and Down, which is a song titled by The Cars on the 1980 record Panorama. And then up there on its own is this album titled by Peter Gabriel, and then maybe Growing Up by both Bruce Springsteen on 1973's Green Cemetery Park, another favourite 70s debut album to me, and by Peter Gabriel from 2002's Up, and then maybe Growing Up in Public by Lou Reed as well. Then there's another song on here called Can't Be Too Long, and it could be like saying Took Me So Long, and it's a song titled by Barclay James Harvest on 1997's River of Dreams, not to be confused with Billy Joel's 1993 record of the same name. And then the last one in here is Call Yourself a Man, and it could be like, what kind of man? You can call yourself maybe a real man, which is a song titled by Bruce Springsteen on 1992's Human Touch, the best Springsteen song after Tunnel of Love in my opinion, and maybe a Lucky Man by Emerson, Lake and Palmer on their 1970 debut album. And we could also, and then there's loads of other ones with man in the title as well. And then, so that's that one. And then that's all the songs for you. So now what I'll do is open this up and we get a nice gatefold. Because all these albums come with gatefolds, and you can see that these are the singles for this album. And then look what else we get. We get the disc. Now all the discs look the same, but they're all different colours. But I'll give you this one to see what it looks like. It's purple, and as you guys already know, purple is my third favourite colour. And that's the front cover of the Volume 2 box set, which you'll see when I do the video, when I order the box online. So anyway, that's that album for you. And what I like most about the cover is that I like Mark Farner's bandana. He looks a lot like Neil Young in my opinion, but not with the bandana. And I like Don Brewer holding the watch there. And he looks a bit like one of the guys in Laurel and Hardy with the hat. And then I like Mel Shacker looking very serious. So anyway, that's that album for you. And by the way, I forgot to mention, Time on Its Own is a song titled by both Pink Floyd on 1973's Dark Side of the Moon and Sly and the Family Stone on 1971's There's a Riot Going On. And then an album titled by Electric Light Orchestra. And loads of other ones as well. Okay, so now their second studio album, which came out in 1969 also, but kind of 1970 as well. And it is their self-titled second album, or commonly known as the Red Album. And there's the back. And this is my favourite album cover of Grand Funk Railroad. Why? Because of Mel Shacker on the front, playing his bass. And as you can see, the front cover of the box set was basically this album cover, which is cool. Right, so let's see what we've got in here. So on this, so they do a cover of the Animals song, Inside Looking Out. And Inside Out on its own could be like our song titles by both Phil Collins on 1985's No Jacket Required and by Traveling Wilburys on their 1990 album Volume 3. Says that one. Then the first track on this album for me is an excellent song title from track one on any album. It's called Got This Thing on the Move. And I think it's a very great song title for track one on the second album for any artist. Right. Then there's another song in here called Please Don't Worry, and it could be like saying Don't Worry Baby, which is a song title by the Beach Boys, and then covered by Brian Ferry on 1973's These Foolish Things, which is cool. Then there's another song in here called Paranoid, and Paranoia is also a song in an album titled by Black Sabbath, and maybe Paranoia Blues by Paul Simon on 1972 self-titled, and Talking John Birch, Paranoid Blues by Bob Dylan, which he performed live in the 60s. I believe during the Another Side of Bob Dylan era, I think. And then there's another song in here called In Need, and it could be like saying I'm in Need of Love, which is a song titled by Ace Frehley on his 1978 solo Kiss album. And then another one on here called Winter and My Soul. And Winter on its own is a song titled by the Rolling Stones on 1973's Goat's Head Soup. Then maybe with soul in the title, we can have Soul Dressing, a song titled by Booker T and the MGs on the 1965 record of the same name. And Rubber Soul by the Beatles from 1965. And then with Winter there, we can have If on a Winter's Night by Sting, which is an album of classical music, I think. And then maybe A Winter's Tale by Genesis from the Genesis Revelation bonus track edition, which is cool. Then another song in here called Mr. Limousine Driver, and we can have something like Baby Driver, which are song titles by both Kiss on 1976's Rock and Roll Over, and by Simon and Garfunkel on the classic album Bridge Over Troubled Water. And then with Limousine in it, we can have Black Limousine, which is a song titled by the Rolling Stones on 1981's Tattoo You. And then with Driver in the title, take out the or and get Drive. We have Drive, which are song titles by both The Cars on 1984's Heartbeat City, celebrating 35 years this year, and by R.E.M. on 1992's Automatic for the People. And then there's another song in here called Highfalutin Woman, and Woman on its own are song titles by both Free on the 1969 self-titled album, celebrating 50 this year, and by John Lennon on 1980's Double Fantasy. And And then maybe we could have Woman of Heart and Mind by Joni Mitchell on 1972's Full of Roses. And then we could have Reefer Head Woman by Aerosmith on 1979's Night in the Ruts, celebrating 40 this year. And we could also have maybe Hard Hearted Woman by Barclay James Harvest on 1977's Gone to Earth. And even Hard Headed Woman by both Elvis and Cat Stevens. And I think that's on C for the Tillerman, which is cool. And then if we want to have High in the title to start with, we could have High Water by both Bob Dylan on 2001's Love and Theft and by Rush on 1987's Hold Your Fire, because this album cover is kind of similar to Hold Your Fire with it all being red. And then Hell or High Water by Kiss from 1987's Crazy Nights. And then other ones for Woman, we could have Hard Luck Woman by Kiss from Rock and Roll Over. Right, so there's all the main songs for you. And now here is the Gatefold with the picture of the band. You can see that Don Brewer there, in my opinion, looks a lot like Leo Sayer with his afro. Mark Farner there looks like Neil Young with his long hair and exposed chest. And then Mel Sharker looks a bit like Phil Lynott, but just with the mustache, which is very cool. And then here is the disc, which is all red. That's why it's called the Red Album. And the band Weezer have the Red Album also, and so do the Beatles, but it's a compilation of all the hits from 1962 to 1966. Anyways, that's that album for you. Next up came their third studio album, and this is considered by many to be their best early album, Closer to Home, from 1970. And there's the back cover. And I like the front cover with the three members all stacked up together, which is cool. And the title of Closer to Home could be like saying Closer to the Heart, which is a song title by Rush on the 1977 album A Farewell to Kings. And then Closer to You by J.J. Cale from 1994, celebrating 25 this year. And then with Home in the title, we could have something like Going Home, which are song titles by the following. By Leonard Cohen on 2012's Old Ideas, Leo Sayer on 1990's Cool Touch, and by the Rolling Stones on 1966's Aftermath. And then Going Back Home by Aladdin on 2014's record of the same name. Then hopefully by the time Perry Edwards is 68 years old, she'll have her 9th solo album as well. And then with Home in the title, we could also have Coming Home, which is a song title by Kiss on 1974's Harder Than Hell, celebrating 45 years this year as well as the debut album. Anyways, that's the reference Closer to Home. And now with the songs. This features, of course, probably their first major hit single, and it's called I'm Your Captain. And it could be like saying The Captain, which is a song title by Leonard Cohen on 1984's Various Positions, celebrating 35 years this year as well as 35 years for Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, the legend. And then, if you want to have a name for the Captain, we can have Captain Mark, because Mark Farner is the lead singer in Grand Funk Railroad. But then there's also Captain Jack, which is a song title by Billy Joel on 1973's Piano Man, I think. And then Captain Li Shang from Mulan, Captain Phoebus in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Captain Hook from Peter Pan. And then with we can have I'm Your Man by Leonard Cohen from the 1988 record of the same name. That's that one. Then we have another song on here called Hooked on Love. And it could be like saying Hooked on Rock and Roll, which is a song title by Peter Criss on his 1978 solo Kiss album. And then Going Down on Love by John Lennon on 1974's Walls and Bridges, which is celebrating 45 years this year. And then we've another song on here called I Don't Have to Sing the Blues, and it's a bit of a similar title of My Father Used to Sing the Blues, and it's a line mentioned in the free song Songs of Yesterday from the 1969 record, self-titled. So that's for that one. Then on the side one of the album, we have a song on here called Mean Mistreater, and it's a bit like saying Mean Street, which is a song title by Van Halen on 1981's Fair Warning. And then Main Street by Bob Seger on 1976's Nine Blues. So speaking of which, Don Brewer actually toured with Bob Seger live in the 80s to support the Distance album. And then Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones from 1972. So that's for the Mean Mistreater. Then we have another song on here called Sin's the Good Man's Brother, and I heard the vocals by Mark Farner on that are just classic. And Brother, we could have something like He Was My Brother, and it's a song titled by Simon and Garfunkel on 1964's Wednesday Morning 3 AM, celebrating 55 years this year. And then Paul Simon doing that on the Paul Simon Songbook album. And then we've another song on here called Get It Together, which is mentioned in Bob Dylan's Senior from 1978 Street Legal. And then with Together in the title, we could have Together Through Life by Bob Dylan from 2009. And then we could have maybe Together, which is a song titled by the following. An album by Marvin Gaye and Mary Wells and Diana Ross and Supremes and Temptations. And then maybe Let's Stick Together by Brian Ferry on the 1976 record of the same name, and then covered by Bob Dylan on 1988's Down in the Groove, and then Let's Stay Together by Al Green. And then with Get It in the title, we could have Get It Up by Aerosmith on 1977's Draw the Line, And then It on Its Own is a song titled by Genesis on 1974's Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And then with Nothing Is the Same, sure, Grand Funk Railroad were never the same when Mark Farner left and when Mel Chakra left the first time around. And with Nothing in the title, it could be like saying Nothing to Lose, which is a song titled by Kiss on their 1974 self-titled debut. And then with The Same in the title, we could have Still the Same by Bob Seger on 1978's Stranger in Town, and then Rod Stewart covering that as well for a 2006 record of the same name, I think. And then Aimless Lady, we could have different types of lady. We have Lady Jane by the Rolling Stones, we have Little Lady by Status Quo, Lady in Red by Krista Berg, Lady Midnight by Leonard Cohen, Rock and Roll Lady by Barclay James Harvest, and loads of other ones with Lady in the title. And maybe Blue Eyed Lady by Status Quo, which is cool. And then here's the Gatefold, with the band playing live. There's Mark Farner at the microphone, Don Brewer singing, and Mel Chakra's bass. And they're pretty good. And then we get, of course, the disc, which is basically a greyish cover this time, which is cool. So yeah, this is a classic album, and for me, the best Grand Funk Railroad album from the first three, because after that, Grand Funk Railroad started to change and started to become like a new band, really. Kind of started to grow up musically, I guess. And by the way, I forgot to mention that this, inside here, in this gatefold, is actually my favourite album. Picture of the Grand Funk Railroad band playing live, because of Mark Farner's nearly screaming into that microphone, which makes it amazing. And then I forgot to mention that this with Get It Together could be like saying Get It On, which is a song titled by T-Rex, coming off the 1971 record Electric Warrior, and then covered by both Blondie as a bonus track on 1978's Parallel Lines, and by The Struts, whose lead singer Luke Spiller looks a lot like Freddie Mercury of Queen, and gets to collaborate with them on stage with them. Yes, it's Jade Furwell from Little Mix, because again, Little Mix are great. And I'll just have a look at this for a second. And then I forgot to reference with Aimless Lady. It could be like saying Lady Writer, which is a song title by Dire Straits, coming off the 1979 record Communique, celebrating 40 years this year. And then I forgot to reference there on time, the Into the Sun could be like saying Into the Heart, which is a song title by U2 from 1980's Boy. Again, for me it's second only to Phil Collins' Face Value as the greatest 80s debut album of all time. And then another favourite 70s debut album to me would be the debut album of Rory Gallagher and then Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill. Right, so at least I got that bit out of the way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the first live album by Grand Funk Railroad. So here it is, live album. I'm very fond of this live album actually, because I like how Don Brewer, the drummer, looks a lot like Leo Sayer wearing that jacket there that he did in the 70s. And I like how Mark Farner is just jumping high up into the air as well. He looks a bit like Angus Young on the front cover of the AC/DC live album of If You Want Blood You Got It, I believe. And once again, AC/DC are in the top 5 most satanic artists of all time, as I said. Excuse me. Anyway, sure, Angus Young is a little fecker anyway, and I think Mark Farner is acting like a little fecker as well. Anyway, so on this album here, they have songs from their first 3 albums, but they have a track on here called Words of Wisdom, which is mentioned in the Beatles song Let It Be, from the 1970 record of the same name. And then it's like saying Words of Love, which is a song titled by Mr. Buddy Holly, and then covered by the Beatles on 1964's Beatles for Sale, celebrating 55 years this year, as well as the 55th anniversary of A Hard Day's Night. And then this year will be the 50th anniversary of the Yellow Submarine soundtrack and Abbey Road, which is awesome. So anyway, and then Words of Wisdom is also mentioned in Leonard Cohen's Going Home from Old Ideas. And then with the songs on here, with Inside Looking Out and Into the Sun, they do like really long renditions on that, and it kind of feels like they are the Don Brewer drum solos, I think. I'm not so sure. But then with Introduction, it's basically them trying to introduce Grand Funk Railroad on the stage, and then it goes into raw energy with Are You Ready, and then Paranoia, and then Need, which is cool. And then here's the Gatefold with them playing live. My second favourite picture of them on the stage after the one in Closer to Home, which is that picture there of Don Brewer, and then Mark Farner and Mel Chakra. They are, Grand Funk Railroad are just amazing. And then look what else we get. The disc. It's nearly similar to the Red album, but this album is basically like the disc is basically black in some inserts, which is cool. Anyway, so pretty good live album. One of my favourite live albums of all time, along with the following: Genesis Live, Genesis Seconds Out, maybe 3 sides live from Genesis, Phil Collins' Seriously Hits Live, Aladdin, Homer, Shrek, and Wallace live at Leeds, and then if Little Mix had their 2017 live album, it would have been one of those as another favorite live album, and Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2, and maybe Kiss Alive 4. I need to listen to Kiss Alive 3. And I like Bruce Springsteen 1975 1985, and I like Bob Dylan's Live at the Royal Albert Hall, and I also love Budokan as well. So anyway, this is a great live album. And those first 4 Grand Funk Railroad albums, like the first 3 studio and the live album, they are all in a limited edition box set of Grand Funk Railroad, which is basically those 4 albums in jewel case CDs, and it comes with a guitar pick, the Shining On 3D glasses, and a sticker reproducing a concert ticket. And there's 8 slots left if you want to buy, and there's for the other ones released on Capsule Records. And this next album that you're going to see now is it's the next album that it's the first of these albums you can buy singly to add into the Trunk of Funk limited edition box. And it is Grand Funk Railroad's 4th studio album, Survival, from 1971. There's the back cover for you. And when this album originally came out, it was kind of a disappointment to many fans on first listen, because some people were actually going to be very excited by this record, and when they heard it for the first time, they were very disappointed by it. But now, hearing it in its remastering, it will start to get better. And I find this cover a little bit too flamboyant, and you can see that they're all topless in the thing. Like, that's not allowed. Like, nowadays you can't have album covers when you look like that. I think Mark Farner there looks a bit silly in my opinion. But it's very funny, it can make me laugh at times. Like Blue Oyster Cult's Cultosaurus Erectus album cover makes me laugh with a dinosaur on the front. Anyway, so on this album, Grand Funk Railroad do a cover of the Rolling Stones' Gimme Shelter, which comes off the 1969 record Let It Bleed, celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, because this album came out around the same time as the Sticky Fingers album by the Rolling Stones. So I think, to honour a new Rolling Stones album coming out, Grand Funk Railroad were kind of saying, you know what, let's do a song from their previous album to honour the new Rolling Stones album. And they did. And they do a pretty good job, yeah. And then there's another song on here called, and then the other hit single on this album is called, their cover of the song Feeling Alright. I forget who had it originally, but I know it was written by a guy called Dave Mason. And then with Feeling Alright, it could be like saying, as I said, It's Alright by Paul Stanley on his 1978 solo Kiss album. And It's Alright Ma by Bob Dylan on 1965's Bring It All Back Home. And then That's Alright Ma by Elvis. And I think Bob Dylan covered it as well. So yeah, that's for that one. Then there's another song on here called I Can Feel Him in the Morning. And I heard it's a very nice romantic ballad that Don Brewer sang. I mean, that title, I Can Feel Him in the Morning, it could be like saying, Why Can't You Wait Till Morning? And it's a song title by Phil Collins, coming off the 1982 record, Hello, I Must Be Going. And by the way, In the Morning on its own is a song title by Norah Jones from 2004's Feels Like Home. Of course, the follow-up to her massive successful debut album, Come Away With Me. And then with I Can Feel It, it could be like saying, I Can Feel It Coming in the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Ah yeah, from the greatest 80s debut album ever, Face Value. And then, with Morning, we could have Morning Morgantown by Joni Mitchell on 1970's Ladies of the Canyon. And then, maybe Sometime in the Morning by the Monkees on 1967's More for the Monkees. And then we could have Morning Glory by both Leonard Cohen on 2004's Dear Heather, and by Oasis from the 1995 record of the same name, but What's the Story, Morning Glory. And maybe Monday Morning by Fleetwood Mac on 1975's self-titled album, and Sunday Morning by the Velvet Underground and Nico on the 67 self-titled album. That's very cool. So it's a nice ballad. The funny thing about the song I Want Freedom was that I remember hearing it online, and basically it took about 2 minutes for them to get the song starting to come up, because there's just a lot of talking at the start, and I think Mel Shacker was kind of messing up the tape with his bass, and that's a shame, because Mel Shacker, one of the greatest bass players of all time in my opinion. And by the way, Freedom on its own is a album title by Neil Young from 1989, celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Wow. And for me, his best album since comes a time, because again, Mark Farner there looks a lot like Neil Young there in my opinion. And with the I Want in the title, it could be like saying I Want You, which are song titles by the following: by Bob Dylan from 1966's Blonde on Blonde, Kiss on 1976's Rock and Roll Over, and by Shadow King on their 1991 self-titled album, which features Lou Gramm as the lead singer from Foreigner. And then we could have I Want You Back. Well, the I Want You are album and song titles by both Booker T. Jones and Marvin Gaye. And then we could have I Want You Back by both Leo Sayer on 1977's Thunder in My Heart, and by the Jackson 5. And then I Want You Back mentioned in Phil Collins' Something Happened on the Way to Heaven on 1989's But Seriously, which again could be my favourite Phil Collins solo album. And by the way, it's 30th anniversary this year. I know I do a ranking for Phil Collins, but that can of course change. And then with All I Want, we could have All I Want by Joni Mitchell on 1971's Blue. And then All I Want Is You by both Roxy Music on 1974's Country Life. Celebrating 45 years this year along with Brian Ferry, Another Time, Another Place. And then All I Want Is You by U2 on 1988's Rattlin' Hum. And then speaking of Roxy Music Country Life, the song Country Road could be like saying Country Life. And then we could have Country Pie by Bob Dylan on 1969's Nashville Skyline. And we could also have Country Feelings by Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. And then with country, we could have Get Back to the Country by Neil Young on 1985's Old Ways, as I've already referenced for Are You Ready for the Country on Harvest. Then with Road in the title, we could have Old Dirt Road, which are song titles by the following: by Bob Dylan on 1977's Time Out of Mind, by John Lennon on 1974's Walls and Bridges, and Leo Sayer on 1975's Another Year. And then we could have Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen on 1975's Born to Run, and then Further On Up the Road by Bruce Springsteen on The Rising from 2002. And then maybe Road to Nowhere by Talking Heads on 1985's Little Creatures, which is cool. So that's all the main ones to have Country Road there. And then The Road by Mike and the Mechanics from 2011. Then we've got a song in here called All You've Got Is Money. Money on its own is a song title by Pink Floyd on 1973's Dark Side of the Moon, or even Money, Money, Money by an artist that's not allowed because it features that person in it. And then with All You Got Is Money, it could be like saying All I've Got to Do, which is a song title by the Beatles on 1963's With the Beatles, which is pretty cool. And then Comfort Me, there's not really much to say on Comfort Me actually, so I'll leave it at that one. And then we get the Gatefold with the same album cover, but then you can see the disc inside here, so it's like exposing the disc. And this is what the disc looks like. It's basically a white disc with a bit of red on there. Again, white's my fourth favourite colour. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good record, but they should change the cover because it's a bit too explicit in my mind. It's a very similar album cover to Aerosmith's Night in the Ruts, in my opinion. So anyway, that's that one. And then finally, finishing up here with the first half of Grand Funk Radio, it's 1971's E Pluribus Funk. And it's a very good album cover, by the way, and what's very good about the album cover is that it looks a bit similar to Emerson, Lake and Palmer's album cover of Trilogy from 1972. And they look a bit like a trio of Creedence Clearwater Revival nearly on the front. And by the way, I forgot to mention on this album, Survival, Don Brewer, the drummer, was very unhappy with the drum sound on this album because his drum heads were covered with tea towels, like what Ringo used in the Let It Be movie, which is cool. And then for this one, it's very cool as well. This album came out in November of 1971, whilst Survival was April 1971. So let's see. So the songs we have on here include Foot Stomping Music, and Foot Stomping Music could be like saying Roxy Music, which is the name of a band featuring the magnificent Brian Ferry. Then we could have Rock and Roll Music by Chuck Berry and covered by John Lennon. I mean the Beatles on 1964's Beatles for Sale. And then we could have Make Mine Music, the Disney movie from 1946. And we could have Thank You for the Music, which is a song title by that same artist that's not allowed because it features that person, which is pretty cool. And then we've another song on here called Save the Land. And what kind of land? You can maybe save the land of confusion. The Land of Confusion is a song title by Genesis on 1986's Invisible Touch. And then maybe The Land of Plenty by Leonard Cohen on 2001's 10 New Songs. And then maybe the Save the Promised Land by Bruce Springsteen on 1978's Darks in the Edge of Town. And then with Save There, we can maybe Save the Children, which is a song title by Marvin Gaye on 1971's What's Going On, released in the same year as this album right here, which is cool. There's lots of other ones with land in it, but I'm not going to reference all of them. Then there's another song on here called People, Let's Stop the War. And by the way, War on its own is a song titled by U2, album titled by U2 from 1983. And we could have, and I already referenced War Machine on Creatures of the Night. And then we could have Make Rock Not War, which is a song titled by Blue Oyster Cult on 1985's Club Ninja. And then we could also have maybe War by Barrett Strong and Norman Whitfield, which they wrote, and then covered by both Bruce Springsteen live, and then by Temptations on 1970's Psychedelic Shack. And then we have another song in here called I Come Tumbling, and it could be like saying I Come Rolling and Tumbling. And it's a song titled by Bob Dylan on 2006's Modern Times. A phenomenal Bob Dylan album, but the worst by far is Working Man's Blues No. 2. And then maybe with Tumbling, we could have Tumbling Dice by the Rolling Stones on 1972's Exile on Main Street. And Rolling and Tumbling is also by Muddy Waters, and then also by Cream on 1966's Fresh Cream. And then Upsetter is pretty good as well. And it could be like saying Bedsitterland by Leo Sayer on 1975's Another Year. And then Loneliness on here is also mentioned in the Police song Message in a Bottle from 40th anniversary of 1979's Regard the Blank. And we could have and then there's Loneliness on here as well, which is like saying, but Loneliness is also mentioned in the, it's the first word mentioned in an alternative version of Bob Dylan's March into the City, which is an early version of Till I Fell in Love with You on Time Out of Mind. And then there's No Lies on here. It could be like saying Little Lies, which is a song title by Fleetwood Mac on 1987's Tango in the Night. And then maybe The Lady Lies by Genesis on 1978's And Then There Were Three. And then Lies on Its Own are song titles by both The Rolling Stones on 1978's Some Girls and by Status Quo on 1980's Just Supposing. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then for the Gatefold, we get pictures of the band, and look what else we get. We get lyrics, which makes it cool. And then we get the disc, which is very grey. I think it's the only one that's not have a bit of red on it, and same for On Time. So anyway, that's that record for you. So that's it. That's my unboxing video of Grand Funk Railroad's Chunk of Funk Volume 1. I hope you all enjoyed it. Grand Funk Railroad are just an amazing band. So remember to subscribe to my channel, leave your comment below on what you think of Grand Funk Railroad, and I will see you in the forthcoming days or so to do Grand Funk Railroad Volume 2 box set. Thank you very much. Take care and bye-bye.